Norway is back at the World Cup after 28 years. Haaland is unstoppable. Odegaard orchestrates everything. But there's a problem. This team still makes the same mistake. And in 2026, the price could be devastating. In the qualification group, Haaland contributed goals in nearly every match. Odegaard pulled the strings. They demolished Italy twice by different margins. They beat Moldova 11-1. But now, the real test begins, because at the 2026 World Cup, they face France, Senegal, and Iraq in the same group. And this team still carries the same flaw. The defense is fragile. Odegaard battles constant injuries. Haaland is often left isolated. They waited 28 years, so how far can they go with such a delicate structure? In 1998, Norway was at the World Cup. They beat Brazil 2-1. For a small nation, it was a massive victory. They made it to the round of 16, but after that, they fell into deep silence. After Euro 2000, they said goodbye to major tournaments. For a quarter century, they went nowhere. Generations were wasted. There was John Carew, couldn't get there. John Arne Riise, Joshua King, none of them made it. Every time, the same story played out. Qualifying would start, hopes would rise, then collapse would come. But in 2020, something shifted. Ståle Solbakken took the manager's seat. Around the same time, Haaland began his ascent. He exploded at Salzburg, then moved to Dortmund, then Manchester City, where he dominated the Premier League. Odegaard rose to captain at Arsenal. Norway's two brightest stars were peaking simultaneously. And when the 2026 World Cup qualifiers began, Norway became an unstoppable force. They beat Italy 3-0. Then 4-1 away. They put 11 past Moldova. It was historic. They crushed Israel 5-0. 8 matches, 8 wins. 37 goals scored, only 5 conceded. They finished the group with maximum points. The 28-year drought was over. Norway was going to the 2026 World Cup. The qualifying group was a dream. Every match brought a goal fest. Haaland was unstoppable. Every Odegaard pass found its target. But the critical matches were against Italy, because Italy was a powerhouse, European champions, and Norway crushed them twice. The first match was at home. Norway won 3-0. Haaland scored, Odegaard assisted. The Italian defense crumbled. The second match was away. Everyone expected Italy to take revenge, but Norway won 4-1. Haaland scored twice, came close to a hat-trick. Italy was stunned. The Moldova match made history, 11-1. Haaland scored 5 and added 2 assists. Odegaard dazzled in the first half with 2 assists and a goal. Norway was unstoppable. The fans couldn't believe it. They'd suffered disappointment for 28 years, but now everything was different. Haaland wasn't just scoring, he was carrying the team. Odegaard wasn't just passing, he was controlling the game. Coach Solbakken made the right calls. The tactics worked. The team was disciplined. Momentum was building. By the end of qualifying, Norway was one of Europe's best teams. They'd scored 37 goals, conceded only 5, a plus 32 goal difference. But there was a problem, because this dominance came in a weak group. Italy was in poor form. Israel, Estonia, and Moldova were weak teams. Norway hadn't truly been tested yet, and the defense was still fragile. Scoring 37 goals was impressive, sure, but conceding 5 was also a concern, especially when those goals came against weak opponents. And Odegaard's injury history was still there. He'd been injured several times during the season. Shoulder issues, knee problems. He had limited minutes in April and May, but on May 18th, he played 90 minutes against Burnley, and that was a ray of hope. Then on May 30th, in Budapest, he played 66 minutes in the Champions League final against Paris Saint-Germain. The match ended 1-1. Extra time couldn't break the deadlock. PSG won the trophy on penalties. Norway was going to the World Cup now, but the real test hadn't come yet.
The excitement was at its peak. Then the draw happened. Norway's group was revealed. France, Senegal, Iraq. The fans were shocked because on paper it looked manageable, but this group was dangerous. France was a World Cup favourite. Mbappe, Ryan Cherki, Bayern Munich's young star Michael Olise, and Ballon d'Or winner Ousmane Dembele. Experience, quality, championship culture, an impossible opponent for Norway. Senegal was physical and fast. Sadio Mane, Kalidou Koulibaly, Edouard Mendy, one of Africa's strongest teams. And Norway's defense could struggle against them. Iraq was the most dangerous opponent, because Norway would be favorites, and being favorites meant pressure. They'd qualified for the World Cup for the first time since 1986. Iraq played physical, played emotional, and Norway's defense could collapse under pressure. The fans were worried, because they'd waited 28 years, and now they had to face this group? But the real problem was Norway's identity, because throughout qualifying, they'd been favorites. They dominated every match, but the opponents were weak. At the World Cup, everything would be different. Against France, they'd be underdogs. Against Senegal, they'd be equals. Against Iraq, they'd be favorites. 3 different scenarios. And Norway struggled when they were favorites, because there was no defensive organization, because they panicked under pressure, because Haaland was left isolated. The fans knew this. Bugatti engine with a 1998 chassis, they said. The attack was magnificent, but the defense was fragile, and Odegaard's status was uncertain. He'd played 90 minutes on May 18th, but he'd been injured several times during the season. Would he be fully fit at the World Cup? Because without Odegaard, Norway was a different team. Haaland became isolated, the midfield connection broke down, the team became unbalanced, and confidence in Solbakken wasn't complete. Qualifying was successful, but he had no tournament experience. Could he make the right decisions under pressure? Norway had waited 28 years, but now they were facing reality. Qualifying dominance was one thing, the World Cup was another. For Haaland and Odegaard, this was their first World Cup. For Sørloth, it was probably his last chance, a living witness to the 28-year absence. This generation had one chance, and the group was brutal. But Norway's problem wasn't just the group. The problem ran much deeper, because Norway had been repeating the same mistake for 28 years. Defensive organization was never solved. Since 1998, every generation faced the same issue. The attack was always good, but the defense was always fragile. It was like this in John Caru's era, in John Arne Riis's era, in Joshua King's era, and now in Haaland's era. It's the same, because Norway's football identity was contradictory. Naturally, they were a physical, counter-attacking team. That's how they beat Brazil in 1998. They were at their best as underdogs. But the system demanded they be dominant. They had Haaland and Odegaard. They dominated every match in qualifying. Now, they were expected to be favorites. And this identity crisis would surface at the World Cup. Against France, they'd be underdogs. They'd be comfortable. But against Iraq, when they were favorites, they'd be under pressure. And Norway tended to collapse under pressure. Another problem was depth. Norway's population was only 5.5 million. Squad depth was limited. If Haaland or Odegaard got injured, there was no replacement. And injury management was weak. Odegaard had been injured several times during the season. There was no coordination between club and national team. Torbjørn Heggem was dealing with chronic back pain. Nyland was 35 and had rhythm issues. Sander Berge had just returned from illness. Norway was a fragile team, and one injury could change everything. And the federation was troubled too. There was a FIFA budget crisis, an internal war over VAR, tension under Football Federation President Lise Klaveness's leadership. So Norway was fragile not just on the pitch, but off it too. The 28-year absence wasn't a coincidence. There were structural problems, and those problems still hadn't been solved. But here's the good news. Norway is at the World Cup now, and for this generation, this is the only chance. On June 17th, they face Iraq. This is the most dangerous match. Norway will be favorites, and they could fall into the favorites trap. On June 23rd, they play Senegal. It will be a physical battle. Norway's defense will be tested. On June 26th, they face France. Mbappe, Dembele, Tchouameni. Norway will obviously be underdogs, and winning seems unlikely, so maybe this will be their most comfortable match. Their chances of advancing are moderate. Best case scenario, finish second and reach the round of 16. Worst case scenario, finish third and get eliminated. And if they're eliminated, 28 years will have been wasted. Haaland and Odegaard's first World Cup will end in disappointment. Sørloth's last chance will be gone.
But if they advance, Norway could be a dark horse because Haaland can change everything. He can score 3 goals in one match. If Odegaard stays fit, the team transforms. If Solbakken makes the right calls, momentum can build. Norway waited 28 years. Now it's time to take the stage.
28 years is a long time. A generation grew up, aged, and lost hope. But finally, Norway is back. With Haaland and Odegaard, fragile but dangerous. Qualifying dominance was one thing. The World Cup is another. France, Senegal, Iraq. A tough group, sure, but not impossible. Because in football, anything can happen. And Norway waited 28 years. Now there's one chance. And this generation won't waste it. Maybe they'll advance. Maybe they won't, but at least they're there. After 28 years. Finally.